story with balloon animals, and we would sing to them, and they would sing to us, and then we'd go play games, which was a lot of fun. At the one in the bottom right corner, this was a really cool school because we had an altar call during it, and I think there was 230-some people there, not including the parents who were watching, and almost every single one of them stood up to accept Christ, which was so awesome. And I know it's hard for them to be Christians because they don't have Bibles, and so we realized that, and we're like, they don't have Bibles, we need to raise money for this. And so we held an offering, and we raised a lot of money to send like 46 kids to school and buy 200-some Bibles for them. And so I'm bringing out my money here because this is worth $6, and this is how much it sends a kid to school, and most of the parents struggle to pay $6 for a year of school, and that was really amazing to see. And a Bible costs about 30 cents over there, and most of them will never see one because they do not have enough money to buy a Bible, which I thought was insane. How can you not afford 30 cents or $6 to send your kid to school or get a Bible? And it was just a very, it was kind of a culture shock thing, where you were just like, whoa, so this is what life is really like outside of America. You can go to the next slide. And we went to town in Dubai, and there was this nice little ice cream man, ice cream truck. It wasn't a truck, it was a bike with a cooler on the back that he scooped ice cream out of and sold to everybody for about 10 cents. And they tell you not to eat the street food. We ate the street food. Oh well, we're not dead yet. so that's it was mango flavored ice cream. Mangoes. And so that was really cool. And so chickens were also a big part of this trip. Like, a very interesting part of this trip. You see those two guys there with swords and chicken heads? Well, there was a rooster in the village. Two of them, actually. And we were sick of getting woken up at 1, 3, and 5 in the morning. So we were like, yo, we're gonna buy your chickens. And they were like, oh, sure. So we paid them. And these two boys took it a little too seriously and chopped off their heads and ran around the village with heads on those swords. So it was a little scary, but it was kind of funny. And so that was just a little chick. And also that night that they killed those two roosters, we had the worst night ever. Some of you know this story, but that night we went to bed, and all of a sudden, bang, 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 and there was monkeys on the roof, banging silverware that they had stolen from us for 2 hours. It was horrible. But oh, that wasn't it. Afterwards, there was a storm, the mother of all storms ever. It poured in lightning for like 2 hours. It was so hard, it was raining so hard, that you could not hear yourself speak. But this girl next to me in my tent slapped my face and said, Suzu, wake up, hold my hand. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're 17, get your life together. And she just kind of like cuddled up to me, and I was like, there goes sleeping tonight. But that wasn't it. After the storm, then all of a sudden we heard this meh, meh. It was a baby goat looking for its mom, and they were so stupid. They couldn't find each other for 2 hours. So 6 o'clock in the morning comes along, and we were like, it's silent, but none of us knew it was 6 o'clock. 30 minutes later, rise and shine, it's time to get up. And we're like, no! Because none of us got any sleep. So that was kind of a funny story that had to relate to getting chickens' heads cut off for some reason. So you can go to the next slide. And so we left Bagoy. But our bus Pablo was having some problems. Like, that's just the full surface of that. So when we were heading back, and so some of the locals were like, oh, take a goat as a gift of our affection. Take 2 chickens. Take a duck. Take the dog. So we had a goat, 2 chickens, and a duck in the bottom of the truck, and they were just kind of like tied up there. And let me tell you, it was a bumpy ride. I'm surprised any of those animals lived. It was crazy, but it was supposed to be a 6-hour ride to Jinja. That was a bunch of lies, because our truck broke down in the middle of nowhere for 17 hours. And it was horrible because we all had to lay on the side of the road, and there was no squatty potties in sight. So we kind of went in the woods, but like everybody could see us. and that was very unfortunate. And but about a mile down, there was a little village, like a very little village, and they sold chapati. Chapati is the most amazing food in the entire world. It's basically a tortilla, but it's better because you're hungry, and it was so good. And so he basically got chapati, and sometimes they put eggs on it. Made a solid breakfast. And so we made it back to Jinja, where we would spend the remainder of our time. And so you can flip to the next slide. So while we were in Jinja, we got 2 free days, and one of those 3 days we got to tour the Nile, because Lake Victoria is the mouth of the Nile, or yeah, I don't know, whatever that is. And we got to go tour the Nile and Lake Victoria, and it was really cool. And we got to see all these birds and all these lizards, and it was really cool. So next slide. And we also got to do a church ministry, which was in a Pentecostal church. And a Ugandan Pentecostal church is like American Pentecostal church, but like 100 times more. Like, it was crazy. Like, the amount of things was out of this world. And we got to do a play for them. And most of them could speak English, which was super nice because they could actually communicate to them. And even though Uganda's official language is English, that means nothing. Everybody speaks their own tribal language in whatever village you go to. And that was kind of crazy. And then on another day, we got to go zip lining, which was super cool, because basically what happened is you took a hike down through a rainforest and up a mountain, and then you got to go climb up a 150-foot tall tree, which was really intense because all you had to climb up was nails. And so you kind of climbed up with these nails, and I'm sorry, I do not trust the safety stuff there. It was a little scary. So I went on that platform, it was creaking and swaying, and I'm like, I'm gonna die. And I was like, but if I die in Africa. So I jumped off, and it didn't break. We're all 23 people who were going on this, which was awesome, because that would have been very sad if any of us kind of fell off. And then we left Uganda sometime in July. I forget the exact date. And so that was the last picture that we took in Uganda as a team. And we had to say goodbye to a lot of people. When we were leaving Uganda, we had to say goodbye to 2 of our leaders, Ms. Susan and Mr. Innocent, who were native Ugandans. And that was really sad because they had been a big part of our trip, and they were so funny. And Miss Susan was like a solid African housewife. She could start fires, she could carry water, and she knew how to yell, like, get over here! It may have not been like understandable, but like, you knew what she was saying, whatever language she was shouting in. It was really cool. And so there's no more slides for this, but we came back to America, back to Florida. We went to debrief, which is basically you need to get used to your own culture. And I had already experienced some culture shock in Uganda. When we were going around touring stuff, I know this is crazy, guys, but I saw white people, and I was in shock because I had not seen lighter colored people besides my teammates for 4 weeks, and it was just like, oh my word. It was amazing to see. We went into this one cafe in Jinja, and I just started crying because it was culture shock even going in there, because they had toilets, and they had like a lot of food to serve, and there was like Europeans and people of every culture, and I was just